Line unmuted.
Good morning.
Yeah, no doubt. That's what we thought.
I didn't watch it. I watched the first one, and I was like, man, that was really good.
Let the road know some members down here.
You might just stop in just to represent you.
Right at 6 o'clock. Good morning.
What's your name? We're all everything. So this would be in October for full-time and part-time.
Yes, sir. Sorry about this, still only 10,000.
Yeah, I don't. Oh. Maybe.
Oh, I'm stopping from here.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yes, sir. No, I took the same part. Yeah, I think the opportunity. How are you, Commissioner?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
Doing good.
Good morning.
You got 3 minutes, sir? About a minute.
Is Commissioner Mooney gonna be here?
Just speaking time written.
Huh?
Give time for somebody to speak to me.
Oh, that's what that is?
Yeah, please, yes.
You ready? Sure. Hey, just stand here. Please. God in heaven, we thank you right now for your goodness and your mercy. We bless your name, for your name worthy to be blessed. We ask you to bless us now as we go through this meeting to try to do what's best for our citizenry, and we thank you. Father, we thank you for just being able to live in a country where we can call on thy name. Father, we bless you now. We thank you for those that stand around the world that protect us and help us now. We thank you and we love you for what you've done to us. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Go ahead.
All right, so what we'll do to start the meeting is, in just a minute, I'm gonna open up the floor for nominations for chairperson. And so the nominations don't require a second. So we'll take all nominations, and then after that, it will require a motion and a second to elect that person, and we would vote on each person that was nominated, if there's more than one. And if there's just one, then we'll just vote on this. So at this time, I open the floor now for nominations for chairperson of the board. Do I hear any
I'd like
nominations?
to nominate Commissioner Moody. I realize he's not going to be here today, but he has served a long time. He has not been chair yet, and so I would like to nominate him.
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Dent to continue on another year.
All right, so do I hear any more nominations? All right, so first we're going to, I will need a motion and a second for, if you wish to elect Commissioner Moody.
I'll make a motion.
Do I hear any seconds? We have a motion to, for Commissioner Moody for nominations for chairperson. Do I hear any seconds? Okay. Then that motion dies for lack of a second. Do I hear any other motions?
Make a motion to nominate Commissioner Dent.
Do I have a motion
Second.
and a second to appoint Commissioner Dent as the chairperson? And now the nominations are closed. So do we? So do I hear votes? Those in favor of Commissioner Dent for chairperson, please say yay.
Yeah.
Those opposed, say nay. All right, so motion carries by unanimous vote, and I declare Commissioner Dent as the continuing chairperson for the board for the next year. Congratulations.
Is that? Well, thank you for the vote of confidence. I'll do my best. That's just me. Okay.
So,
What I need to do?
so next we'll need to, I'll relinquish the chair back to you, and you'll need to take nominations for a vice chair.
Okay, the floor is now open for nomination of vice chair.
I nominate Commissioner English to be vice chair.
If I want to
Is there
second
any
him.
more? They don't have to have a second, but there could be more
Okay,
nominations.
all right.
So is there any more nominations? Anybody else? All right, so then we'll just need a motion and a second to elect.
Okay, do I hear a motion to be, or nominate Commissioner
English.
English, vice chair?
That's my motion.
That's your motion, okay. Do I need to relieve this gavel in second? I relieve that, I second.
All right, all in favor of Commissioner English for, to elect as vice chairman, say yay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. So Commissioner English will be the, vice chair.
is that,
So the next order of business in our, would be for the board to vote on retaining all the board personnel in their present positions, if that's what if the board chooses to do that, we need a motion and a second and a vote on that. To retain all board personnel in their present positions.
Motion to retain all personnel currently.
Second.
Got any carry motions? All right, all in favor? Aye.
And just one other thing, just as a procedural thing, just a reminder that we do whenever we, are taking minutes and, on the votes, is that, we do use Robert Rules of Order best that we can, and, that's what we follow. And also, if you don't vote at all, or if I don't hear a vote, then that's recorded as a yay vote, just so everybody knows that. So just make sure that if you do want to vote against something, that you make sure that that's voiced, or else it's recorded as a yay vote.
All right, so next is,
You need to discuss your meetings and vote when you're gonna do your meetings.
Okay, do I do that or you do that?
You do that.
Okay, we go to item D, discussion regarding the board meeting dates and times. Y'all have you had a chance to look at those yet?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I have a few things that I would like for the board to consider. The first thing is, excuse me, our regular board meeting on July the 5th. And since that is a holiday week, and a lot of people are off, I would recommend that we change that meeting to the next Monday, July the 11th.
Okay,
And then on August the 23rd, we have a workshop, and that is the primary election. So I would like to see that one changed to August the 30th. And then.
hold on now. August,
The workshop on the other side. I mean,
August the 23rd.
Yeah,
That's the one you want that one changed too?
please, that's the primary election day.
Okay.
And then, November the 7th, for our regular board meeting, is the day before the general election. And, if we could change that, we could either change it to, the 9th on a Wednesday, or the next Monday, the 14th, or any time for that matter, but I would just request that that be changed.
Okay, we'll go back to June the 6th. What date did you have that?
July the
July
5th, if we would change that to July the 11th.
And leave, excuse me, Mr. Chairperson, and leave that would be putting our board meetings just a little over a week apart. Do you want to shift the second board meeting to later in the month, or just leave it as is?
I leave it as is, because if you do it later in the month, it's gonna fall right into the next month.
Yeah.
It's gonna take them a week apart.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I would think, or whatever everybody else wants to do.
Okay, August the 23rd was, you mentioned August 23rd, right?
August the 23rd is a workshop, and that's the primary election.
You want to move that or cancel?
If we could move it, well, I mean, we could move it to the next Tuesday on the 30th, and if we don't need to have it, we could. What did we decide on July the, on July the 5th?
You recommended the 11th.
Yeah, is that okay with
Yeah.
everybody?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I can make a motion that everybody has to do it Thursday.
You want me to finish all of them, or?
Go ahead and finish. What is it? Take them off.
And then November the 7th, November the 7th is
General election?
is the night before the general election. If we could change that one.
To the 14th?
We could change it to the 14th, or we could change it to the day after on the 9th, which is a Wednesday, or the next Monday, the 14th. Now, I do need to say that on the 15th, that we have a workshop scheduled.
Why don't you do it the next day?
And then on the 22nd, we have a regular board meeting. So how did we get a workshop ahead of a regular board meeting?
I think what happened probably is that the current year, I think we shifted everything up probably a week to avoid having a workshop during Thanksgiving holidays. But then,
Oh, okay.
you know, we would be having a board meeting a couple of days before Thanksgiving, looking at these dates, which may not be convenient for everyone.
Well, a suggestion would be that on November to cancel the workshop and just move the regular board meeting to the 14th. And then the next regular board meeting is scheduled for the 22nd, a week later. That's not entirely unusual.
We'll just have one meeting in November on the Tuesday and not have a workshop.
If I may, a couple of problems we have when we don't have meetings is we pay bills, and you approve the bills, we don't pay them until you guys approve them. So if we go a long time without meetings, it's a long time. It's like in December next month, we only got one meeting. We really need to try to have 2 meetings a month. I mean, to me, it makes sense to cancel the workshop in November, and then maybe have 2 meetings in December. Because,
The 7 days apart?
well, no. So if you had 2 in November, so if you had 2 meetings, 2 in December, you could do one on the 5th and then one, well, I guess 14th would be the 19th. I don't know what day that's on, but that would be right before Christmas. That's why we usually don't have one, I think.
Well, but we would just need a short meeting to pay the bills,
Yeah, I mean,
which
it wouldn't
I'm
have
going to
be
ask.
until-
Yeah, I'm going to ask for later in this meeting anyway, that we have a short meeting in this December just to pay bills.
And that's usually the way we do it. We can continue to do it that way. We just have a special meeting to pay bills.
Now, there's nothing that says we couldn't have the regular board meeting on the first Tuesday in November, which would be November the 1st, and then have our second meeting on 2 weeks later on November the 15th on a Tuesday. That kind of sounds more rational to me, but
Right.
on the 1st and the 15th, have the 2 regular meetings and no workshop.
Yes.
Yes, I'll move the November 15th meeting to the second meeting and no workshop, and move our workshop.
Yeah, so November, we'd have a regular board meeting on the 1st and on the 15th,
And no workshop.
and no workshop. Unless, we had to have one, we could always schedule them.
So,
Okay, so we're having 22nd, having 15th.
so July 5th, did you move it to July the 11th? August 23rd workshop, move it to August the 30th. November the 7th, meeting, back it up to November the 1st.
Yeah.
Cancel the November the 15th workshop and have a regular meeting on that day.
Yeah, that sounds good to me, if it's good with the board.
Mr. Chairperson?
Yes, ma'am.
Question for the clerk. Do you wish to add a special meeting in December just to pay bills and put it on the calendar?
We need one, yes.
Okay.
Whether you put it on the calendar, we do need one.
Okay. We need one for this December and for next December. So are you looking at December 19th, maybe?
Yeah, let's see, what day is that?
Evening meeting?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It should be a very short. So December the 19th?
2022 is.
That's on our-
December the 19th is on a Sunday.
That's this year. 2022 would be on a Monday.
Right.
Oh, I thought we were talking about this year.
Next year's
We need
December
to.
meeting on the 19th.
So we're talking about adding December the 19th as a special meeting,
That,
2022.
Okay.
And it's I don't know what we want to call it, pay the bills or whatever. Maybe a meeting.
that'll be a morning or an evening meeting?
It doesn't matter. It's up to you.
It'd be better for me in the evening.
Evening, okay.
So both of our Decembers would be evening meetings.
I'm good with that.
And what about this December?
It would be the same scenario, somewhere around the 21st or the 22nd to add a special meeting just to pay bills.
So, maybe 20th, the 20th,
20th?
is a Monday, is that open?
Evening, maybe?
Yes, please.
Okay.
6 o'clock?
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody in agreement from the dates, I make a motion
Okay, you make a motion.
based on the dates given.
All right, do I have a second? Motion second, all in favor? Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairperson, just as a request, can we send out a memo on all of this so we can put it on our calendar?
Oh, yes, sir, we'll send you an approved calendar.
I've written it down, but I don't know when everybody can read it or not.
Okay,
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
we'll go to E, miscellaneous discussion of committee appointment.
I'm fine with none.
I'm good.
What about you?
Yes, sir.
I'm fine with mine, so, the one not here, we speak for him, he's fine with his. Okay, do we need a motion for that?
Motion?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Ready. We go to item F, board to approve its rules of procedure.
I've looked at them again, I don't see any problems with any of it.
Okay. Have you, any of you?
Mr. Chairperson, I just have a quick question for the clerk. Do you wish to clarify in the rules of procedure that the board will follow Robert's Rules of Orders? No.
No, all that was regarding, I'm answering for you, okay, all that was the procedure of appointing,
Okay,
and voting on chairperson and so forth. Y'all aren't not gonna go to Robert's Rules of Order, I don't think. I mean,
No.
that was my question.
Yeah, I shouldn't have, yeah,
Okay,
I was just talking about something else, but,
okay.
yeah, no.
Thank you.
So we're not going to law school?
Robert's Rules of Order is Robert's Rules of Order.
Okay. So we'll go, where are we now? Approval of the agenda?
Did we approve the rules of procedure?
That, okay, we need to go ahead and make the motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion second, all in favor? Okay. Now we go to approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve the amended agenda?
Okay. Have a motion, second, all in favor? All right. Number 5, the board to receive order file, the reports of receipt, expense, and net income for September 30, 2021 on all constitutional officers. I believe we did receive that report. Okay. That means they turned this money back in, right?
I don't have any questions for any of it. It all seemed in order to me.
So we just do a motion and second to accept these.
To receive it. Okay, I have a motion that we receive.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you for that. Now, the consent agenda. Have you all looked at the consent agenda, and everything on the consent agenda we approve is written?
Yep.
Find out. If you don't have any problem with it, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Motion second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We'll go to, is that 10A?
That's under consent, isn't
Is that under consent? That's the last one on the consent, right?
Yes.
it? Yeah.
Okay, we go to number 11. Bids and public hearing, the board to hold first of two public hearings set for this date at 9 a.m. or soon thereafter if possible, to conduct the first reading of the ordinance to adopt amendment to the text of the Taylor County Comprehensive Plan by adding a property right element in to consider transmittal of said amendment to the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity. Okay. Bids and public hearing.
Mr. Bishop Winston.
Y'all, the way I looked at this is that you need to go through the resolution first and then the ordinance.
Uh-huh.
The way I looked at it when I was reviewing. So you got a resolution, it's CPA 21-01, and then you've got the first you have to do two readings on this, on the ordinance.
Okay, so what we need to do now, open this up to public hearing?
Well,
Read it.
you open up the public hearing, on the ordinance, the resolution, you don't necessarily need a public hearing, but it's not gonna hurt anything with just opening it up. But as a practical matter, and I use that term too much, the first thing you need to do is if you want to read the whole resolution or you want to do it by title, you can have a motion to read it by title, or you can ask me to read the whole
Do you need to
thing.
read it by, title, do you need to read the entire thing or just by title?
I don't, as long as y'all understand what you're doing.
Motion to read the resolution by title only?
Second, we'll read resolution by title only.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bishop.
Thank you. A resolution of the Planning Board of Taylor County, Florida, serving as the local planning agency of Taylor County, Florida, recommending, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah, that's the planning board
It's already been
resolution.
adopted by the planning board.
Have they done this?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, it wasn't signed.
No, the original was signed and.
Yeah, it's fine. Never mind. Open up a public hearing on the ordinance. Thank you, Danny.
Okay,
I got confused.
so we need to open it up to a public hearing.
Yes, sir.
All right, do I hear a motion if we open up to a public hearing? Okay, all in favor? It's now open to a public hearing. Anyone from the public?
Do y'all want to read the whole thing, or you want to read it by title?
Title.
Tyler? Your
Motion
motion?
to read by title only?
Motion second, Mr. Bishop.
Yes, sir. I'm straight now. An ordinance of Taylor County, Florida, amending the Taylor County Comprehensive Plan relating to an amendment to the text of the Taylor County Comprehensive Plan pursuant to an application CPA 21-01 by the Board of County Commissioners under the amendment procedures established in section 163.3161 through 163.3248 Florida statutes as amended, providing for adding property rights element to the comprehensive plan per section 163.3161 subsection 10 Florida statutes as amended in section 187.101 subsection 3 Florida statutes as amended, providing severability, repealing all ordinance in conflict, and providing an effective date. And attached to that is the property rights element introduction, which is in the next page, which really, if you want me to read those property rights, I think it's appropriate to read them so the people will know what you're doing on this. It's objective 12.1. In local decision-making, the county shall consider the statement of rights as enumerated in policy 12.1.1, policy 12.1.2, and policy 12.1.3, and policy 12.1.4. And then in reading those, policy 12.1.1, in local decision-making, the county shall consider the rights of a property owner to physically possess and control his or her interest in the property, including easements, leases, or material rights. In other words, you need to be aware of those particular issues. And then policy number 12.1.2, in local decision-making, the county shall consider the right of a property owner to use, maintain, develop, and improve his or her property for personal use or for the use of any other person subject to state law and local ordinances. Policy, and y'all been doing that anyway,
Okay.
Policy 12.1.3, in local decision-making, the county shall consider the right of the property owner to privacy and to exclude others from the property to protect the owner's possessions and property. And then policy 12.1.4, in local decision-making, the county shall consider the right of a property owner to dispose of his or her property through sale or gift. Just, again, it's talking about individuals' property rights. And you ask for public comment.
Now, public comments. Is there anyone from the public? What about from the board?
I just didn't realize we didn't already have this.
Y'all have done that in the past. That's why I said that, but maybe somebody didn't. Another community. I don't know.
This was generated through legislation requiring that you adopt language in your comprehensive plan. It's not something that we came up with. You have to follow the guidance of your comp plan anyway, and this is just something the legislature decided would look good in a plan, even though you still have to follow the rules within the plan.
Yes,
Okay.
So when I read all this stuff, preparing for the meeting, there is someone out there that is being held up
Right.
until we do this. Now,
That's
once
correct.
today is over and we've approved this, are they, whoever it is, are they free to do whatever it is that they're planning to do?
No, Commissioner, this has to follow the process of any conference plan amendment, and that it will be transmitted to the Department of Economic Opportunity after this meeting. If they find issue with the language, want changes, or issue an ORC report, objections, recommendations, and comments, you may have to amend something. If they find the language suitable, you would adopt the ordinance at a second reading. And at that point,
That's right.
right, that's when they could proceed with the pending land use change.
Thank you.
Okay. Appreciate it. So we close this public hearing. Okay. All right. We will go to number 12, public request. The board to consider approval of annual consumer price index increase as requested by Todd Mitchell, Waste Pro Division Manager. You here?
I'm here.
Okay.
I was just checking to see if the commission needed a vote to transmit the comp plan.
I would think so.
You think we need? Okay, by being the first hearing, public hearing.
You're approving the transmittal of this ordinance to DEO,
Okay.
and I would
So we
expect
vote
that
for
would.
that.
And approving signature by chairperson on the transmittal letter.
I should have to have two meetings to do the process, that's the way I read it.
No, you transmit first and then DEO gives you feedback and then you have the second meeting to adopt the ordinance.
This is different from anything that y'all do.
Right.
And so that's the confusion, but, usually, what happens is, the people who prepare this, which is North Florida Regional Planning Council, comes to you and guides you with this. But what you're doing in this is you're passing it on first reading, although it's really not passed as an ordinance because you send it to the state, and then the state, like Danny just talked about, they'll come back and say, well, you know, it's fine, you can go ahead and have your second meeting and sign it in this ordinance, or there's something that they don't approve of, and they tell us that we need to put that in there, and then y'all decide whether you want to put it in there. Am I saying that correctly?
Makes sense to me. We just need to be sure that the board is approving the transmittal of this ordinance to DEO and the chairperson to sign the transmittal letter. Before that.
So you need a motion then to transmit, okay, that's my motion.
Motion second, all in favor? Okay. You going, Mr. Danny?
I'm going, well, I'll be around if needed.
All right, then we'll go to Mr. Todd Mitchell. Yes. Okay. Price index, the board to consider approval of the annual consumer price index increase as requested by Todd Mitchell, the Waste Pro Division Manager.
Step up there. So we presented, it's part of our normal contract that we do every year. So it's, last year, it was a little bit smaller of an increase. This year it's being decreased by our landfill decrease that we get from the $2 that we're getting returned back. Or not us, but the county is. So we've actually reduced it by 1.39% for the disposal impact, which puts the increase down to 4.25%, which is in the neighborhood of anywhere from $3.47 to $7.69 is what the impact is. Any questions?
So, yeah, is this an increase or a decrease?
Increase. It was decreased by the landfill portion, the disposal portion, but.
It's still an increase.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, with the rising cost of the tires, the fuel, the steel, my employee. And another thing that I didn't get necessarily tell you is that Jeff will be leaving due to medical conditions, the driver. So Jeff's been here for ever. Yeah. So we have a new gentleman that's been training with him, and we hope to continue good service and not have any issues, but just know that there could be a couple of hiccups just because we've got a brand new driver. But we did put in a new $335,000 truck, so hopefully that keep everything running straight. We kind of do that every couple of years, put in a new truck, so we don't have any issues.
So by this number, it's an increase, but because of the disposal reduction.
It went down.
It's not a 5.6 increase, it's a 4.25.
That's correct.
So is this an across-the-board increase for everybody that y'all do the same amount?
Yeah.
Y'all got to quit doing that.
We gotta quit getting fuel increases and tire prices. Our containers went up from, to put another container out, and you know how bad the salt eats up the containers here. An 8-yard went from $800 to $1,600.
Wow.
So there's not a lot I can do about it. And then our insurance, just our insurance alone, with all the stuff, we've lost 5 employees to COVID. We had 5 deaths. And we had 26 that have been infected, including myself and my governmental affairs officer back here that almost passed away, Lloyd. No joke.
Thank you.
All of us have been impacted pretty heavy with it, so our cost of our insurance has just gotten ridiculous. So.
Mr. Mitchell, I just want to clarify for the board. Now, this increase would result in an increase to the county's budget for our service, which is not substantial, but then would we also have an increase in our franchise fees if you increase the amount of the service?
No, CPI doesn't impact the franchise fees.
Okay. So no impact to our franchise fees.
Correct.
But there will be an increase for our accounts.
What percent is a franchise fee?
Yeah.
The nature of an increase, so if you have $10 and a 5% franchise fee, and then you go to $15 and the 5%, you're gonna get a higher franchise fee back.
But not the percentage piece.
But not the percentage piece, but the actual dollar amount.
Actual dollar amounts. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's true.
Okay.
So yes and no.
Okay. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you.
Any more discussion? Did you have something to say, one? Okay.
Make a motion to approve.
That's 4.25. Okay, got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Um,
Okay. Mr. Mitchell. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. This is not about my most recent actions. I was looking up something, it's out of the calendar for next year. When you move the second meeting of November to the 14th, I believe that will now be before any new commissioners, if they were to be elected, would be taking office. I believe they take office the second Tuesday after the general election.
You saying November 7th?
Reorganization.
You said November 7th, to what date?
I believe you moved your second meeting to the November 14th.
We moved the November 7th we backed it up to the 1st.
Saying second meeting in November.
Second meeting.
That's when you have the reorganization of the.
That's on the
I
14th.
believe that would be before,
It has to be the Tuesday.
that would be before any new commissioners, should they be elected, before swearing reorganization. Which I know you typically the first meeting, the second meeting in November is usually the first meeting of the new term.
We, moved the second one in November to the
15.
I got
This is
it.
I'm sorry, 15th, but it's, I think it would still be before, I think it's 2 weeks after the election that the new commissioners take office. I could be wrong, but I was trying to look it up, and that's why I didn't mention it right at that moment.
Then that makes it the week of Thanksgiving then.
15th would be that Tuesday. Correct?
Yes.
The election's on the 7th,
On the 8th.
8th.
There was a change to, excuse me, Mr. Chairperson, there was a change to our rules of procedure regarding when the reorganization meeting should be held during an election year.
Yeah, we talked about that last year.
Yes, we did. Let me find what page that's on.
If it's that Tuesday, you should be within the parameters of all officers or commissioners being sworn in.
From what I found on, as far as statutes go, it's 100.041. Let's see, each county commissioner from an odd-numbered district shall be elected, and talk about which year. For a four-year term commencing on the second Tuesday following such election. Didn't want to, not trying to cause problems, but
Yeah.
it's all that is a potential issue.
We need to go back to it and address that.
What date would the election be on again? The 8th. The 8th.
I was put it in the Thanksgiving week.
Was there,
It was just on the schedule, I think, originally.
any reason not to do it on the board meeting on the 9th?
I didn't.
I don't need any reason not to hold a meeting on the 9th, which would be, it'd be a Wednesday.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
When he's saying it stipulates the second Tuesday is when the reorganization would be following the election.
Yeah, the problem is that 14th versus the 22nd. The 22nd gives you that 2 week.
The second Tuesday after the election,
So
by statute.
she's looking for in our rules of procedure and see what it says.
It'll fall into Thanksgiving weekend, I guess. Yeah, I probably would not. Yeah.
So you keep going with Canada.
Oh, not Canada.
Okay, I found it. On
What
page 15, 29A, it reads, at the second regularly scheduled commission meeting of November each year, or as soon thereafter as practical, the commission elects a chairperson from among its members. On non-election years, the organizational meeting remains to be held on the second meeting of the month.
Next year will be an election year.
I don't see, I thought the wording was on election years, it was the second Tuesday of the month,
Which would be the,
but I don't see that in this copy. Did you pull this off the website?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
you'd like to move ahead, and then when we get that straightened out, we'll come back to it?
We could do that. You wanna do that in one?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay. We go to the next, item 13, Ms. Diane Landry. You returning the money?
I think the last time I was here, you asked me to come back and let you know what the city said when I went and talked with them. And I did meet with them last week, and they said, sort of wait, I'm not sure. They evidently have a policy where they will not give any money to any nonprofit organization. And they voted to wait and have time to look at that and then come back and give you an answer. But they're not meeting again this month, so it will be sometime in December before they answer. I don't think they'll change their mind, but, so basically the answer is no. We have collected to date, $22,580.
$22,580.
$22,580. I'm sorry?
What was it, 30,000 even?
Yeah, right at it. We called to place the order once we felt confident that the money was gonna be there. And the company said, I'm sorry, that, appliances no longer at that price. So they increased our price, but it is still under 30. It's 28,945. So we are short, currently we are short $6,365. Had a donation from Mr. Douglas this morning, and most of you all have been there, and I really appreciate it. The community has been responding to our request. There was a little snafu, I guess, once they read in the paper that y'all had guaranteed $30,000. So some of our pledges have backed out. I had hoped that we could actually reach 30 without having to take anything from y'all. You were our safety net, but I don't know whether they'll come through now or not. When we finally were able to make the order, they said it would be 4 months to get it here. So we still have some time to collect if that's possible. So we'll see. So I'm here to report back on what has happened, and whatever you guys decide to do, we appreciate you standing behind us. I still would also request that you put us in your budget, because that old facility, well, just last week, we had to shell out $3,000 for a plumbing issue. And there's something always, plumbing, lighting, fixtures, just something always is breaking down. We had to buy some new air conditioner heating units, because there's no central. So we have to have, window units for, each of the rooms. And it's just, there's always something. And, our budget is so, our income is so limited, it's a challenge. But we are hanging in there and doing what we can for our seniors.
Have y'all checked to see if there's anything with state government or federal government that could help you all? I know a lot of communities fairly close by have really nice facilities.
Yes, I do.
And do you know how they got those? How can they have such a nice newer facility and we're over here at this broke down schoolhouse?
To answer that question, we did go to the state and talk with Jason Shope's office, and ask about applying for money because we want to renovate those back wings so that we can use them. We can't use them right now. The roof leaks so bad on the third wing that, I don't know how the building's still standing. The water's just pouring in. Thank goodness it's all concrete block, or it would be,
What did he tell you?
He said, because our long-range plan would be to put apartments back there for seniors so that they could just up sidewalk, get their meals, go back, somebody be there all the time to check on them. Not 24/7, but every working day. That was a long-range plan, but the cost to do that is tremendous because you got to do plumbing, you put in a bathroom. Most of them have a little kitchenette, but there's no bathroom facility. So to renovate that would just cost $50 right now. So the second option would be to get it fixed up enough that we could actually rent out the rooms to small businesses. We have the rooms that are ready, we've already rented out, but we don't charge very much for the rent because they're mostly nonprofit organizations. But that was the next, and when we talked to the state about it, they said, the state is not going to give you money, you make money. I said, but we would be self-supporting if we could do that. The state is not going to give you money to make money. And he said, your chances would be about 20%. And we looked at the amount of paperwork that was required to file for it. We said, no. So we hope to look at private grants, that are not state backed.
Well, what about if you just maybe approach them or think about approaching them just for construction of a new center? Instead of trying to do that and renovate, what about if just for the seniors to go there and have lunch and to meet a big area now that's not central heating and.
The big area is fine. That's where the freezer's going. This is the third appliance that we've had to put in that building. We had to put in a new side-by-side refrigerator freezer, a new stove, commercial, all this commercial, and now the freezer. All of that was original to the building, and it's just old and broken down. So this is the third appliance that we put in the congregate hall. The congregate hall is fine. It's been repainted, redecorated. We've got, they put new tables and chairs. Well, the chairs aren't new, but the tables, they've been refurbished. But it's fine. And the office buildings are okay. We finally got them up to snuff. It's the rest of the property that we can't do anything with. It's just sitting there deteriorating. So we have not approached them about a new facility. It would require a land purchase from somewhere, unless that property was demolished. So that's an idea, and we may check into
Demolition
that.
or reconstruction?
Yeah. But right now, we're holding on to what we got, and really we stretched our dollars. We had a lot of volunteer labor It's been good, but this freezer being the third appliance that we've had to replace, really, and at $30,000, it really took a toll.
The first two was about, what, 10 to 12? The stove, what was the stove, 10?
I don't have the figures on that, I don't remember, but they were much less than this freezer.
Okay.
And there was a suggestion from the city, well, why couldn't we just buy standalone freezer, you know, like a deep freeze and that sort of thing? Several of those at a cost less than the 30,000. Well, first of all, we don't have room for a bunch of deep freezers. Second of all, they deliver, this freezer holds the frozen meals that go to in-home patients, the homebound patients. And it comes in a semi-truck. So you got a semi-truck load coming in at one time, and that's why we need the big freezer for it. And then when we deliver a week's meals at a time. So, anyway, that's why we need the big freezer.
Well, Mr. Chairman, you guys are gonna have a benefit with the sheriff, is that still?
Yes,
in
but it
plan?
won't come until after the first of the year,
Okay.
probably.
So you still have a need then to be made whole, or you can move forward with the purchase?
Well, $6,000 is gonna really tax us, you know, but I would love for the community to come up, you know, with it between now and then. But we'll see, we've got they said 4 months, so we got 8 months, you know, left to work on it. But I don't know that his event will come, and it may come in time.
Well, I'm just trying to be clear on
Yeah.
what's developing, and
Yeah.
how we need to help you.
Right. So, I'm just here to report.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna ask for any money today because we've got some time left. But you asked me to come back and report, so I'm reporting.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairperson?
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me. We found the latest version of the rules of procedure that were approved last year. Now, the discussion, I believe, was, the original discussion included the language on non-election years, reorganization will occur on the second regularly scheduled board meeting. And then the discussion to follow that was if we should include the sentence, on election years, reorganization will occur the same day as commissioners are sworn in. I don't believe that was actually approved by the board, but the language that's highlighted and seems unclear. So I don't know if we need to take that sentence out that's highlighted or add a sentence that clarifies what happens on election years, which I believe this is, you know, for moving forward.
Okay. So, on election year, the second meeting in the month is where we got a problem.
Yes, and that was the original discussion, is if you should add a sentence. If you're going to clarify what happens on non-election years, should you add a sentence, on election years, reorganization will occur the same day as commissioners are sworn in? I don't believe that was approved last year. There was some discussion about that. And,
Well, that could change, because I believe we were sworn in on a Monday.
Right, and we were at the
Yeah.
meeting on Tuesday morning.
The next day.
Next day.
So, I mean, I'm not sure that it would need to include the same day as being sworn in.
so do we need to, do we need the language on non-election years, the reorg meeting remains to be held on the second meeting of the month? Do we need to leave that language in or take it out? I know you've already voted on the rules of procedure.
That could be amended.
Or do you wish to clarify what happens on election years?
You need to follow the statute.
The statute stipulates the second Tuesday following the election. Is that
That's what
true?
it says, yeah.
Is that for swearing in or reorganization, Mark? I'm
This
sorry.
isn't about a reorganization, this is when new commissioners
Take office. Right.
So if election's always on Tuesday, it'd always be 2 weeks after that election.
It's two.
Yes, just when this one falls, because it falls on the 8th, which is not necessarily.
It's usually the first week.
So we're saying that this would almost fall on the 22nd then?
The second Tuesday would be after
Next
that.
year it would, yeah.
Yeah,
And that's the week of Thanksgiving.
I believe that's true.
I mean,
That's the statute. That's
do it even time, yeah, I'll be around.
So can I ask, do we wish to amend the rules of procedure to include that language? Do we want to take the non-election language out? I just think the way it's written is unclear.
You wanna take that out or just add on what happens on election year?
Yeah, I think you could just leave that first sentence and remove the highlighted sentence. Would that be how the reorganization is conducted?
So just leave it at the second regularly scheduled commission meeting of November. The commission elects a chairperson.
Yes, ma'am.
But that's gonna cause problems, right? Because if the new commissioners hadn't taken office yet, like.
Well, certainly we need to schedule that meeting, that
We
regular
need to
meeting.
schedule
We need to follow that
To
shit, so no one really-
coincide with compliance with the statute, yes.
So instead of including the language in the rules of procedure, we just need to be aware of when the second meeting needs to be, when we adopt the calendar.
That's for sure.
I think it would have to be on the 22nd if the election day is that particular Tuesday. That's the only way you can get 2 weeks out from that. And certainly we could set that as a 6 PM.
So you wish to amend the rules of procedure to remove that sentence?
Okay, what we gonna do with the highlighted? We gonna leave the highlighted part there?
Remove it,
Remove it.
Just need to take it out.
remove it. Everybody in agreement to that? We need a
Well,
motion.
we can do that, and then if you approach that, if you need to do something else, you can amend it, can't you?
Sure.
Okay.
I just think we need to be aware when the calendar is set, as Commissioner Fiegel reminded us, we need to be aware if it's an election or a non-election year, so we can make sure we follow that.
Okay, what do I?
I can make a motion to remove the highlighted section so that we're in compliance with the statute.
Motion second. All in favor? Okay.
And then on the calendar, where are we?
I believe it has to go to the 22nd of November, and we've discussed the evening meeting for reorganization.
Hey, the meeting was already on the 22nd.
Yeah, it was.
And then so for the first meeting, you wish the November meetings to be November 1st and November 22nd?
Well, you don't have any. At 6 PM, 22nd.
Yes.
Happy Thanksgiving.
So both November meetings are at 6 PM and both December meetings are at 6 PM.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you can bring that back, Lucas. You bring that back to us.
No, sir, if you approve the changes,
You can go ahead and do
I would think we can go ahead and revise the rules of procedure and revise the calendar.
it. Okay.
They're both on the agenda. So
Okay.
Yes.
It's on the agenda, so you can do it. So it's on the agenda.
All right. We go to county staff items. Board to consider approval amendment to agreement and resolution with the Florida Department of Transportation to install new pavement markings on runway 18-36 taxiways and aprons of Perry Ford Airport as agendaed by the grant writer.
The board had already approved the original grant agreement for the installation of new pavement markings on runway 1836 only. But when the final quote was obtained, we had sufficient funding to all new pavement markings on the taxiways and apron. So we just simply need the board to agree to the amendment to the grant agreement and approve the resolution.
Motion to approve.
Motion second, all in favor? Aye. Yeah. County administrator, aye.
Can we get a motion to the resolution?
Change the resolution. Title only.
Motion second. All in favor? Okay, title only.
This is one that doesn't have a really good title, so I'll just read the first paragraph.
Okay.
Whereas the Taylor County Board of County Commissioners and the State of Florida Department of Transportation, FDOT, have determined that it would be in the best mutual interest to facilitate the development of the herein described project at the Perry Foley Airport, to wit, amendment to new pavement markings for runway 18-36 to include all taxiways and apron at Perry Foley Airport.
Okay.
Motion.
Now we need a motion second. Motion. All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
County administrator. Board to consider recommendation of the bid committee for consulting services for the American Rescue Program is agendaed by the county administrator.
The bid committee for these proposals was Melody Cox, Jamie Evans, and myself. We met on November 8th to discuss the proposals, and the recommendation from the bid committee is to move forward to award the bid to Government Services Group and to work with them, the county attorney, to bring a consultant agreement back to the Board of County Commissioners. Just as some information, Government Services Group proposal included a phase 1 and a phase 2 for American Rescue Plan Act funding. Phase 1 would be a funding needs analysis and strategic approach. Then upon completion of that, we would come back up to the board for approval before we moved on to phase 2, which would be the funding opportunity, research and analysis, grants technical support, grants management, and grants reporting, which in itself is quite a task.
Okay. Is that it for that one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what about the approval of technology planning team for the bridge?
Well, I need a vote on
First on that one, I guess I'm surprised that the committee came back and recommended this group. And the reason I say that is because you look at their history. First of all, when we hired them the first time, and we hired them for a specific amount to do what they do with the money that we first received. Then they came back and they wanted to hire the Chamber of Commerce to help them, but they wanted us to pay for it. And we'd already agreed on a price to pay them to help us administer this money. And so that kind of raised questions in my mind. Why would we hire somebody and then they go and want to hire somebody else to help them with what we've already agreed to pay them for and want us to pay for it? Then we go along and we ended up, the county having to pay for their when they, I'll try to put it nice, when they did not catch a mistake. And I don't think that the person that applied for the money, I don't think that they had intentions of wrongdoing. But this company was supposed to check out all these things, and they did not do their job with that, and so it cost us money. So that's why I'm kind of surprised that y'all recommended that. I'm not sure that it's the best business for our business, but that's just my opinion.
If I could speak to that, I understand there was some angst with the initial, with choosing the chamber to assist with that project. What I will say is that we have utilized Government Services Group for CDBG and SHIP for many years. There was a mistake made. I think that it was not intentional, and in the scheme of things, it was one mistake in thousands of transactions. And when you look at their ability to help us receive the 3.67 million for the CARES Act fund, that was what the performance base that we did utilize, and their experience with CARES Act funding reimbursement, and also their experience with American Rescue Plan Act programs thus far did influence the committee's decision, influence my decision.
Okay, so when, my perception was that they tried to gouge us in the beginning when they wanted us to pay for somebody else to help them do something that we had already paid them for. How do you feel about that?
Well, now, my recollection of that was that they paid out of their funds. It wasn't a double payment, that they paid the chamber out of the allocation of the not to exceed amount.
They did, after they came to us, if you recall, and they asked for funding to pay the chamber, and that's when I raised questions about it, and the board did the right thing and said, no, we're not paying you additional money for you to hire somebody else to help you. I understand that they've done all the other work and they've done good. That's just that's just how I feel about it. I don't think the recent history, now going back to all these years that you described, yeah, but the recent history tells me that they haven't done the job that I would expect.
And my understanding of just a little bit of back history, my understanding of the reason for engaging a chamber was that chambers in other counties have partnered with the county for similar projects, and I think this was a way for the county to assist with the project and also receive some CARES Act funding. And I don't want to speak for anybody else, but by the time it was said and done, for that first portion of rolling out our CARES Act programs, because of COVID, this chamber staff did come in very handy as far as being able to receive applications and vet applications. That's my understanding.
And I can appreciate your rationalization and your defense of this company, and you certainly have the right to do that. And I'm sure that they're going to be hired, but I did want the public to be aware that I think there's been issues where, we can say how good it turned out, and yeah, the chamber came in good, and I'm not blaming the chamber, I'm blaming this company. I feel like they tried to gouge us, and if something had not been said, I think that the board would have probably approved additional money to help them hire somebody to do what they were supposed to do. That's all I gotta say. Thank you.
I'd just like to ask a couple questions. So they were successful in helping Taylor County achieve the full funding with American Rescue Plan, is that right?
With the CARES Act.
Okay, excuse me. And so in that, we also obviously need their expertise in being able to achieve the full amount with this particular rollout.
We need somebody's expertise. It's my opinion, because of the Treasury rules, that these rules can change, and I believe that a consulting firm, we need a partnership with a consulting firm, because it's so much money, and I'm honestly concerned about having to pay any of it back. If it's money we would not have expended in the first place. and we expend it, and then we have to pay it back, that feels like a double blow to our budget.
So you have the potential to lose twice.
That's my perception. Yeah.
But in that, this group also can help in quantifying what is an allowable expense. And
Yes.
as far as I understand it, I'm not sure that all those have really been defined to date.
I think there has been definition. My concern is that definition could change.
Interpretation of that definition is quite broad, and that's why the value of this kind of a consulting group is great.
Yes. And when the bid committee did meet, we had typically had experience with American Rescue Plan Act funding, and if any of, and there was limited experience with it, obviously, because it hasn't been something that's been in place for quite some time.
Okay.
Mr.
Go ahead.
Okay, I don't want anybody to think that I disagree that we need someone. This is a lot of money as previously and now. And I don't think that, I think it's prudent to have someone that can help administer that money, and hopefully, they'll do it right, and we don't have to make up the shortfall when they do make mistakes, as we have with this company. And normally, I respect staff's request, and I know that y'all have worked hard on this. But on this one, and like I say, I'm sure it's gonna pass this board, but on this one, I just, I have concerns about the company, even though, yes, they provided service, they did do that.
And I would say that the best way to address any concerns moving forward is just to make sure that if they agree to enter into contract with us, that, all directions are clear and concise. The CARES Act funding and the programs was something very new to us. It's something we've never done before. I think we've all gained some experience through that process that will help us in correctly, spending and administering this new program, and exactly what our expectations are. But I believe we can be very clear with that.
So in this proposal, did they add in there this time to partner with our chamber?
No, and I don't know that the only reason there was this partnership with the chamber was because of the individual assistance and small business assistant grants. And, trying to create an opportunity where Taylor County folks would have a place to pick up applications, drop off applications, to be able to communicate to that public. I think that at this point, things have changed a little bit, and if the board decides to have another individual assistance program or, that type of program, I don't know that would be an alternative that would be needed this time. Now, I'm just kind of speaking off the top of this.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, they're in business. It didn't hurt to ask. The board did probably what they should have done, but it didn't hurt to ask for.
Well, we did bring it to the board, and, we did bring it to the board. The board did not approve it in that fashion, and I think it was understood that would not be an option.
Okay, I agree with that.
Yeah, and I don't, I think it would be okay for them to ask the chamber to help them, but not after we've already agreed to a price to pay them, and then come back and say, oh, we need help, so now we want you to pay for it. That's the issue that I had. Not that the chamber did nothing wrong, and I think it turned out to be a good move, and they actually for it out of the money that we had told them that we would pay them, which was the right thing to do.
Yeah, I have no issue. As long as it's all laid out up front.
Well, and to be clear with the board, the way GSG billed us was for every hour they spent. We did not give them a flat amount, a percentage. It was not a percentage based, it was a not to exceed. So so the way that we handled that was that there were set duties that they performed. There was a number of hours that we paid them for. And I would anticipate it would be the same if we go into contract with them, because they did provide a not to exceed amount instead of a flat 10% or whatever that number, as other firms did.
All right, did I hear a motion, did I have a motion?
I make a motion to move forward with awarding the bid to GSG.
Second.
On motion, second, all in favor?
Uh,
Aye.
No,
Okay. Okay, let's go to number 15. The board to consider approval of Taylor County Local Technology Planning Team to bridge the broadband gap as agendaed by the county administrator.
So just to give you a little history on this issue, Florida's counties are working to support the expansion of internet services throughout the state of Florida and to support the Department of Economic Opportunity as the agency moves forward to implement the provisions of House bills passed related to broadband expansion. The Small County Coalition and Florida Association of Counties are working with the Department of Economic Opportunity to move this objective forward. We have already adopted a resolution of support for this effort, and Commissioner Pam Siegel is Taylor County's champion for this effort. The next recommended step is to appoint a lead staff liaison who will then form a local technology planning team using the guidelines forwarded from the Florida Association of Counties. So I have a two-part ask. That would be to appoint a lead staff liaison with the understanding that that person will form the local technology planning team and start having meetings and trying to map out where Taylor County needs to go with this objective.
and I think that person should be you, to be the lead.
Thank you.
So I would, do you want a motion for that, or just a verbal?
We can get a motion. Want a motion?
Yeah.
Okay,
My motion is to appoint her as the lead. And you will, then you will appoint someone that will, a technical person, I'm
Yes.
assuming I know who that is.
That would be our IT department,
Teresa.
Teresa.
Yeah, so my motion would include.
Yes.
okay.
I'll second that.
I just have a question. Now, are y'all aware of what just passed and signed by the president? And it has a broadband issue and also money for broadband for small communities. Of course, I don't know what the state's gonna do, but I'm just thinking we'd be aware of that as a practical matter.
Sure, and that's the purpose for planning this, or for organizing this planning team.
Okay.
Now, I do have a question from y'all. Under the planning team, sector representatives, there is opportunity for nonprofits and community leaders. Does this board have any anyone they'd like to put forward that I could reach out to form this local planning group from community leaders or community organizations?
Right, and it listed a lot of people. It listed the hospital, the school, and
Right.
several. I think my opinion would be that you would include all these people to help define, how we go forward.
They have specialists to do that, right? These schools.
Yeah, what I plan to do is reach out to everyone on this list and ask them to appoint someone to be part of this team. The only question I had was as far as community organizations. Did y'all have any specific organization you would like me to include? I just don't want to miss anyone.
Development Authority, that's on there.
Yes, that's on there.
Have them for sure involved.
I'm asking specifically for any nonprofits or community leaders you know. I would assume I could reach out to the Senior Citizen Center, any of our local nonprofits, and ask them if they would like to appoint someone. Can y'all think of any community leaders you wish for me to include? That's really the only
I'm
question.
sure there's some out there that would be an asset. And if we don't come up with names here as this is forming and going along, I'm sure names could be added
Yes.
of people, I mean, I can think of several that would probably benefit.
So if y'all think of anyone,
Okay, do that.
yeah, let me know. I just don't want to miss anyone.
Okay.
And I'll start reaching
Just
out.
say, proposing the Sting Hatch Chamber, this board down there
Okay.
would be helpful, I believe.
Let me ask you this, you don't know how often they would meet or what time and nothing like that?
No, sir, not yet. I think what we would need to do is, after I communicate with Florida Association of Counties and get some more information from them and from DEO, they can like help us. I think the first step is forming this group, and then I would look for guidance as far as what we need to, how often we need to meet. That's something that would evolve, I'm sure.
One other thing too, I'd like to see us appoint someone from the Shady Grove area and the Osceola area, simply because those areas, and I don't know about other districts.
Oh, yeah, I got some from Jerkins area over there.
That, you know, if we have areas in our district, are in need of broadband, then certainly it would be good to have the input from these people that live there and experience what they experience.
Yes.
Did you get a motion for that? You don't need,
We did, but we still need, we had a motion to second, we still need a vote.
you need a vote?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. I have a name for you, I'll get it.
I have one too.
Okay. We've got number 16, the board to discuss Florida Fish Wildlife Commission, Conservation Commission, the FWC, the Derek, what is that?
Derelict Vessel Grant Program, and Victor's with us. If Victor, if I miss anything or you need, please let me know.
Sure.
Victor is obviously a marine agent and also has proven to be an expert on navigating, pardon my pun, the waters with FWC. Hang around you too much, apparently.
You'll blame me, okay, I'll take it.
Victor's gonna bring us some, red snap or something?
No. But what FWC did bring me was a derelict vessel, a letter regarding a derelict vessel case.
Yeah.
In the past, I think that we had a little bit of a mixed bag with who removes derelict vessels and the process that we use. Moving forward, FWC would, I believe, like us to take responsibility for derelict vessels in the water, within the waters of Taylor County, and have offered grant funding. It's reimbursement based if we choose to take this on. There is an ongoing case where the person owns, I believe it's partially submerged vessel in Steenhatchee River, upriver, and has not met conditions recommended to have that vessel removed.
Mhm.
So, this has been to us, and I need some direction from the board on how you would like me to proceed. It is my understanding that in May of 2022, that FWC will receive funding where they can remove these derelict vessels. However, that is based, they choose vessels they remove. That is based on fiscally constrained counties and if it's a navigational hazard. So my assumption from what they told me was that we may not necessarily receive that benefit. I would like to think that we would, but obviously I have no way to predict that. So my question to the board is, if you wish for me to start gathering quotes for this specific removal, I think we can address them one at a time, up until May and even after May, if you wish for us to move forward with removing this vessel. We would have to obtain quotes. We would have to work hand in hand with FWC, because if we do not follow the rules and ask for approval first, we will not be reimbursed. I have no way to predict the cost of this. I know how much a neighboring county paid for a derelict vessel removal, but I don't know if I can apply that number to this particular vessel. I think it depends. But I would say that FWC, the process, is quite involved. And Victor, I think it's probably always that way with FWC.
Yeah, maybe I can talk about the situation we have in 2017 with Luisa. So,
I don't know if y'all remember Louisa.
yeah.
Go ahead.
So in 2017, we had a similar situation with a large boat from Luisa that was derelict in the Singhatchee River. And in that case, the boat was right on the border of the river. So we worked with the Department of Transportation because actually the boat was
It was on the shore.
on the shore, right.
And it was a huge.
It was a huge boat, yeah. And that case, we paid, the total amount to remove the vessel was 16,000 and something. We got quotes for 26, I think was a hire from DNL, and then other contractor who got the contract, was 16,000. At the end, FWC paid like 12,000 and something, and then because in that time it was a 75% paid by the grant and 25% match by the county or other agencies involved. So DOT took care of the 4,000 and something that was remaining in the cost. But in that case, I remember that we sent the grant application and FWC paid directly to the contractor. So it was not a reimbursement, a direct reimbursement. I was checking through their documentation. Now they paid 100% of the grant. I read it was a reimbursement. We can navigate through that, but certainly they have a specific amount they will spend during the whole year for the whole state, and they decide which vessels, as someone said, which vessels they will pay for the removal. In this case, I'm not exactly aware of the location of these boats that you're mentioning.
I think it's on River Haven.
Okay, by river in Marina.
I believe.
Okay, yeah, so I know, I've seen it because I've navigated there. And yeah, that's really, it might become a hazard for navigation because that's an area with a lot of transit of boats. So we have a good justification to request grant funds.
And I have requested, or excuse me, I have received a letter from FWC that grants us the authority to remove the boat, but we have to be very careful. We can't act on this letter alone. This just lets us start the process. What we would do is we would have to complete the grant application. We would bring that back to the board. We would request the funding based upon the quotes, and then we could move forward. But the process is pretty involved.
Yeah, and we will require permit from the Corps of Engineers or DEP to remove, and as someone said, everything has to be in good coordination with FWC because if not, we can get into criminal charges and everything.
And they won't reimburse us.
Yes.
But you had experience with that from the previous issue.
Yeah. We have done that, and usually the FWC staff is very willing to help guide the process as well. We try to keep good communication, and that's the basis to get things moving forward.
This particular grant is not a 75%. It's
100%.
Grant, yes, in this case.
And my initial reaction when the officer brought this to me was to say, no, thank you. However, really, I believe our only option is to either, for this particular vessel, is to remove the vessel, work with FWC very closely so we can obtain reimbursement, and then after May, I would say we could see what happens.
But it would seem then that the county's portion of cost would be the in-kind staff time to prepare all these documents, not a monetary amount.
No, I mean.
Because it's 100%.
It's 100% if they reimburse us, yes. But yes, there would be in staff time, certainly, because it's quite a process.
Yeah. When we were doing the Luisa case, actually we analyzed another scenario, which was to use that vessel for roofing material. So we brought the special agents from FWC Artificial Reef Program, but at the end, it was not cost effective. We could not use it in our artificial reef here in Taylor County, so it had to be moved to a different county. And that's why it turns out it was not cost effective. So I just decided to remove it and, take it into the landfill. That's exactly what happened.
It's just amazing to me that, the owners of these vessels have no responsibility.
Well, now, regarding that, FWC does indicate that once this process is complete, they will assist us in trying to obtain reimbursement from the owner, but I don't know how effective that will be. If the owner has been able to basically sidestep the process up until this point, I don't know that FWC would, just being realistic, I don't know that they would be successful in obtaining repayment of the funds to the county. And I don't know, Conrad, if we have any recourse as far as recovering these funds through your office.
You gotta find out who the owner is, ultimately, pursuant to the statute, the owner is responsible for the removal. So if the owner is responsible for the removal, I think you can sue him pursuant to the statute.
Yes, sir.
Now, of course, that owner may be a turnip.
And my understanding of this
Because
particular
if they
case,
left it there,
right,
I get upset with this whole situation that you gotta go through all these hoops where somebody has just left a boat in the river and you get a barge and pull it out, and then you have to do all this, and then FWC comes in and says, well, we're gonna let y'all handle it, and we're not Freshwater Fishing Commission. We're a county that abuts into the half of the Steenhatchee River, and Dixie County's on the other side. So I got a pet peeve about this.
I do too, and I did call, FWC and ask them to further explain the statute showing, indicating that we have responsibility. And once they explained the process, I realized that, yes, the ultimate responsibility is the owner, but in this particular case, the owner didn't show up to the administrative hearing, and then it got turned over to us.
Right.
Because
I wouldn't show up either. I mean, just don't show up.
I wasn't excited when they brought me the letter.
It's a crime to be leaving, it's a crime under the federal law too, to leave a vessel in a navigable stream or navigable waters. And you can end up, if you're the owner, in front of the federal judge, either in Gainesville more than likely, because I represented a guy years and years ago that left his boat, and he was charged with a misdemeanor, and eventually, he had to get that boat out of there.
So my understanding is this goes through is an administrative hearing. I don't know at what point, I don't know if FWC would pursue some type of criminal charges. I understand this is a misdemeanor in an administrative hearing, and if people don't show up, then I don't know that there's a recourse.
Yeah, the administrative hearing doesn't have any power to put anybody in jail.
Correct. So then.
Are we in a position to maybe even, folks, a lot of these folks don't have liquid money, obviously, to move it, but they've got property. Are we in a position to be able to put a lien on someone's property?
Well, you could sue them civilly. If it's not their homestead, you can't put one on a homestead. But the ultimate issue is, number one, what's it going to cost to get it out, and if the board has to front it, are they going to get reimbursed if you follow their list of things to do? Of course, like you've been saying, that's what we need to do. But like I said, it irritates me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We all share that.
We share that, we all share that, right?
So, Conrad, and I think in the case of Louisa, but in the scenario where the owner of the vessel has expired, can you go after the estate or the next person, or is it,
Well,
does it end there?
well, if the person has passed away, then of course you have the right to claim against the person's estate. Of course, if they don't have any estate, there's nothing to get out of that. So, you hit a zero on that. And a lot of times what happens with regard to this kind of things, it's more expensive to even do all that than it is to get the thing removed. We don't know what's the size of this boat, where is it? Like I said, it's too bad you just can't hook it to and pull it out and get shit of it,
All I know is it's a cabin cruiser, which I don't believe is a
Huge cabin.
huge boat.
Yeah, it is a small boat.
Right.
Well, what the little picture I saw, it looked like it's maybe a 20-foot boat or a 22-foot boat out there, like a sailboat. Is that
No, it's not a sailboat. I believe it's a smaller boat. I don't have an actual picture of the boat in question. I have requested that from FWC, but have not received it as yet. But I don't believe it's a very large boat, but by the time these contractors have to comply with all the regulations, I think that's probably what drives the cost. Because I know the removal of the sailboat on the Dixie County side was well over $10,000.
Yeah, because it's not only the removal, they have to pay for the transportation and the final disposal, which in the case of Louisa was in Madison landfill.
And if it's fiberglass, you can't put it in, we don't pay the regular tipping fees. It would be the higher tipping fees because it's fiberglass. And then also you have to make sure that the fuel tanks, I think, are contained, so there's no possible leakage. Right. So it's quite complicated.
So what's the question here?
The question is, does the board wish us to move forward with obtaining quotes and then bring back the quotes and the grant application for the board to consider to remove the vessel?
Is it going to do that or wait until May?
Or wait until May and see if,
7 months out.
yes, sir.
But if we don't do that, excuse me, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
you're that much further out and you may or may not be selected at that point.
All FWC could share with me was that, that fiscally constrained counties would receive preference as far as these requests, or if it's a navigational hazard,
The request,
to remove, for
Okay.
direct removal of the derelict vessel.
I see,
Not consideration of the grant funds.
right.
This would be for them to remove the derelict vessel. So, I try to be optimistic. I would like to think that if we remove if we remove vessels between now and May, that after May, possibly FWC would partner with us and remove vessels on our behalf. But then part of me, I can't predict it, if they'll assist us or not.
But, this process, if the board were to move forward, would just be get quotes and make this request at FWC's.
Yes, it would be to approve funding based upon the quotes and submit the grant application to FWC. If FWC approves it, then we would move forward with the removal process and work with FWC and request reimbursement. I just didn't want to move forward without engaging the board, because this isn't something that happens very often, and, there is an opportunity to wait. So I just really wanted, board engagement before I take another step.
If we don't go ahead and get quotes, and May of next year rolls around, and they start giving out a certain amount of money that they have to disperse throughout the whole state, and you certainly won't get anything.
Well, not necessarily. I don't know.
Let's go ahead and get that thing.
It's hard to predict. I mean, I think that the concern is if we wait until May and the boat becomes a navigational hazard, we're going to have to remove it anyway. You know, because FWC and I don't necessarily agree on whose responsibility it is. I would like to say it's FWC's responsibility to remove derelict vessels, but they feel like ultimately the counties and cities are responsible for the removal. And the statute isn't necessarily clear, Conrad, I don't believe. It mentions all of us. So I think that if we choose to wait, then we may end up having to do it anyway. If the vote, right? And I don't know if the vote will move or not.
So you said that you're gonna obtain the quotes, get the approval to send off for the grant, and then are we gonna wait on the approval of the grant before we go remove? Okay.
Yes, or they will not reimburse us.
Yeah, I get it, so.
Yes. So what, if the board chooses to move forward, we would start obtaining quotes. And as soon as we do that, we will bring back the completed application and the amount of the quotes to the board and ask for permission to submit that to FWC. Once FWC approves or doesn't approve, then we can move forward with the removal.
No, that's what I was gonna say, Mr. Chairman, if we're out of time, I'd like to make a motion to obtain the quotes, requesting FWC approval for removal, and then come back with those quotes.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
One thing I'd like to, if I may,
Go ahead.
to mention to the board is that during the legislative conference coming up, there is an item on there where they are asking for the counties to appoint their code enforcement officer to be the one that would have the authority to, I guess, identify and ask for the removal of these derelict vessels. And we'll be voting on that tomorrow, the next day.
Who would they report to? Who would they report that to?
I don't know. Do you know? I guess it would come to us and then we would forward it to.
I'm assuming.
I'm just trying to understand. I know in the Stevenson River, the FWC is the agency with jurisdiction. So I don't know if that's all the waters in the state. I mean, that's why.
I would think it would be the FWC, but it did not clarify that. It just said.
Just requesting that the code enforcement officer
Be the one that would identify and ask for the removal. So I guess he would essentially make the decision, yes, this is a derelict vessel and it needs to be removed.
And I'm assuming, we would forward that to FWC and ask them for a determination. Yeah. And I think the purpose of that was that it would make the process go faster, because if we have to wait on FWC to respond, I think they've been suffering with some staffing issues like most agencies. Then the boat could sink. That would increase the cost of removal. So I believe they're looking at this as a way to streamline the process. So counties or cities are not waiting on FWC to respond. We can start the process and then ask for FWC's approval.
And see, I don't understand why it wouldn't be that if we identify a vessel, then the owner of that vessel would be notified, okay, you need to remove this. And then, of course, if they decide not to do it, which has been the case, then in my opinion, it should go somewhere else.
And I don't know if we have the resources to obtain that information. I guess we would, as far as, vessel registration. And my only concern is, I don't know if this is something the code enforcement officer can do from shore. It depends on where the boat is. I mean, it could get very complicated.
Well, I'm sure that, he would, in those cases, would work with our marine agent if that's indeed the way it goes. I suspect that it probably will because the recommendation is to approve it. But, you know,
I certainly see it as a help.
It's
I see it as a help to move the process forward, because it's very laborious for those officers to go by there, monitor those vessels,
Yeah.
and then they've just got so many boxes that they have to check in the process. So if that helps them in identifying those, moving the process.
And I'm sure that's the thinking. And then if they identified something, I'm assuming, once the code enforcement officer does that, then I guess it would come before the board to decide, do we want to, go ahead and, get a price for the removal of it? And then ask the owner to remove it, and then if they refuse, then that would go to FWC. Hopefully that there would be grant money.
Normally, code enforcement cases go to the special magistrate for action, but either way,
Okay, that's right.
they don't normally go to.
But then, wow, I didn't think about that.
Right. And then my only other concern would be if FWC is not part of the process, then do we assume responsibility for marking the boat or any, you know, putting out any type of markers if it's in?
I wouldn't think so.
So if FWC is going to be there anyway.
I think it may just be a way of reference to locate these
Right.
issues and those vessels. Because they do have a process they go through as far as environmental risk, navigational risk, those kind of things.
I don't want to assume those.
No, we don't, and we can't put a code enforcement officer in a position, it's a law enforcement issue. There's all sorts of things that could be going on a derelict vessel that are not legal, by the way.
Well, and so that was my only concern is
I'm not-
what exactly would we be taking on if we involve code enforcement?
I would think location, I would think, you know, there are things that code enforcement folks could say to gather up to get to the enforcing agency, the jurisdictional agency, FWC in this case, and it should help in moving that process forward. I'm thinking that's why they're asking.
Yeah, their job first is, I guess somebody would report it.
Yes.
And then they would go and determine that, yes, needs to be looked into and go forward with it in some manner.
Certainly, they have the means, if there are identifying numbers on that vessel on site, to say, this is who this vessel was last registered.
It could be out of state.
Yes, ma'am, that happened, I believe, in that vessel that Dixie County wound up with, those folks were not in Florida, and that doesn't help the process, obviously.
Wow.
Okay. Did you get what you want?
Yes, sir.
We went around the world, but we came back to it, didn't we?
Okay, we go to number 17. Board to discuss employees incentive payment as agendaed by the county administrator.
Hold on just a minute. I will advise of our attorney, last time there was a conflict of interest. He said if you have a conflict of interest on something, to go ahead and declare it first before discussion. So I am going to declare a conflict of interest on this one since I have a relative that would financially benefit from this. So I'm not going to enter into the discussion or the vote.
Would you, have a financial benefit yourself through that person?
Possibly.
Okay.
In a way far out, I mean, if you want to think way outside the box.
Well, the rule is, of course, if it inures to your financial benefit, then you do do a conflict. So it's a decision that you need to make in an abundance of caution, since you say it may
I'm
very
going to
well.
stick to it and I'm going to
Okay.
abstain.
So you need to sign the paper.
Yes, if you'll pass them to me, Gary.
Marcia's got it.
Oh, you got 'em? Okay.
I have a relative, but I don't think I'm gonna be financially benefited.
Okay, good.
Okay, this is the time of year when the board traditionally considers incentive payments for employees. This is based in part upon the total funding that the constitutional officers have returned to the board. This year, the constitutional officers have returned a total of approximately $388,000. Finance has prepared several options for the board to consider, and I think I passed those out at the beginning of the meeting. There's 3 options. The first one is for 199 full-time, 33 part-time, and 31 seasonal call-ins for $1,000, $500, $100, $750, $375, $100, $500, $250, $100. The second option is for 219 full-time, 13 part-time, and 31 seasonal call-ins. Those numbers are laid out for you. And I will say that this morning, I realized that the 13 part-time employees, I would think should receive the same consideration as the part-time board employees. And so I asked finance to refigure the numbers, which would be 232 full-time employees and 31 seasonal call-in employees. The reason we are asking for this, I think everyone realizes it's been an extraordinary and unusual couple of years, but I will say we have relied very heavily on all of our employees, including our part-time employees. They have filled many slots when our full-time employees were out. Most of our employees have worn many hats, had to work, a couple of different positions, and I'm very grateful for every one of them, as I know you are as well.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the county administrator bringing forth all these possible solutions, let's call them. So what I'll say is, I don't believe every year this board is going to be able to take actions that would have the full benefit. However, I do feel like this year, this board can and should fully fund this incentive, and the option number 3 is what I would support. And I'd be more than glad to make that as a motion in the appropriate time.
I'm in agreement with Commissioner Newman. I think it should be pretty well across the board, keep it the same, full-time and part-time employees, with option 3. But I'm prepared, I'll second any motion.
Okay, you made that a motion?
I would make a motion to fund
Option 3.
on this sheet.
Which one is the top now?
Bottom.
This is the bottom, the 232 full-time and 31 seasonal call-ins at,
Then you got the 1,000, you got the 7,500.
okay, the top option underneath that heading, the 1,000 and the 100.
Okay. Second. Motion second, all in favor? Aye.
Thank you. I appreciate the board's support.
Okay. I think our employees, they need a little lift. I think this will lift them, okay?
And I do want to recognize that, yes, the board did fund salary increases for the employees. I
Yes.
think concurrently we have had some economic changes. And I feel like the employees should be very grateful for this. I know I certainly am.
Okay. Ready? We appreciate that.
Thank you.
You been for the roll-off site details too?
Yes. So Taylor County property owners were notified by letter included in their property tax bills that effective January 1st, we will require a new decal to be displayed on their vehicle in order to utilize the county roll-off sites. The original guidance from the board was to limit these decals distributed to one per assessment. I have received quite a few calls from property owners asking for an alternative method to show compliance, namely from property owners who either rent or they share their property. This could be people who rent out, their homes, or share property for vacation, or even have multiple relatives in the same home who wish to all utilize the roll-off site. Possible solutions are to either allow property owners to place their decals maybe on a card, so they can share this card with their families or with their renters or, people whom they share the property with, or to possibly provide more than one decal for assessment. This would not solve the issue of renters not having a decal affixed. So, I really just want some guidance from the board. I realize that the initial instructions were one affixed to the vehicles, but that is somewhat problematic for some of our property owners. Yes.
No, I mean, I've had the same questions as far as, with this same issue, and, I thought about, what kind of solution would be best for the community and property owners. I've got, one, individual that she owns a piece of property. She don't live here, but she does lease it out to some folks that's
Right. We have
camping.
Right.
And, not that she even needs a sticker at all, but I guess maybe the recommendation would be, residents maybe get a sticker to stick on their vehicle themselves, and maybe a card that they could hand to individuals such as this that are leasing the property, just for a few months is all it is. I mean, it's really just a few months, they wouldn't be able to take the trash off.
Decal and color.
Well, now, we haven't ordered any cards because we haven't ordered any cards, and I don't know how soon we could get them in, but that was somewhat problematic the last time we did this.
So-
Because
The county has used the card and decal system previously.
we have, but the problem is the cards were easily reproduced. And, we handed out multiple cards to folks, whether, I think it just presented opportunities for potential abuse. I'm not making any accusations. But when you right out of the chute issue 3 or 4 decals and cards to every property owner, then you're potentially quadrupling the amount of folks who can and will utilize the roll-off site. And there's really no way for us to track who has what. So I certainly appreciate the comment. I just want to make sure that we all understand the potential implications. And we can order cards, we have not, because the initial guidance was to just have one decal per property. But the only alternative I know is for people to be able to share by using, creating some kind of placard or something that they can share with folks. And I understand that's problematic as well. I just think we all need to understand it's kind of all or nothing. Either we limit it to one decal or 2 decals per household, and one could be affixed, and then one affixed to maybe a piece of cardboard or something. That would be pretty easy to roll out, and I think it would limit the potential for, for possible abuse. And I'm not accusing anyone. I just, I heard that there were some problems the last time we did that.
How often would we change these decals? Would it be every year we would change, or?
Well, we can, but, with the understanding that every time we do this, it creates a lot of phone calls, not only to us, but other folks. There's a lot of phone calls, there's just a lot of conversation about it. But I do think that it does help us control the use of the roll-off sites, just based upon the drop in what we paid for tipping fees the last time we did this.
So I guess one question, are these decals going to be numbered so that we'll know how many we've given out?
No, we ordered a set amount. I'm afraid numbering of them would have greatly increased the cost than just having a set amount of these decals.
Even if you just simply maybe just put the parcel number on it?
That way it connects it.
But how can you verify that? If someone goes to a roll-off site and they have a decal with a parcel number, what is the roll-off site attendant supposed to? I understand the concept, I just don't think it's.
No, I'd agree. I mean, I guess just almost changing year over year, maybe have a color coded of.
We did change them to blue this year. And yes, we can do that every year. Now, I realize we're still discussing this, but if we get to the point where we consider charging for C&D or whatever y'all decide to do, that would probably have I'm sure it would have an impact to the amount we expend every year for this operation.
What's the cost of Smithy started out? Each year, yeah.
So what we do is, we take on the burden of distributing these decals. So I believe the cost to have the letters placed in within the tax bill was, maybe it was over $1,000 or somewhere around there. I can't recall, I'm sorry. And then a couple of $1,000s for the decals. And, but if we save, $20,000 or whatever, I'm just throwing numbers out in tipping fees, then it's well worth it. But, so this year, instead of having a black and white letter, we, had the company print them on yellow paper. And they simply just trade their letter for a decal, either at a roll-off site, or they can come to this office and it's a simple swap.
We're trying to fix a problem that I'm not sure is fixable. Because ever since I've been here, we've been going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and many suggestions have been offered. And we've tried some different things. And so far, we haven't hit the jackpot yet with how to fix it. Now, there are a lot of problems, but one of the problems is our citizens have been used to a certain way of doing this for quite a few years. And, they were told you pay $140 and this is what you get to do. Okay? And so they've become used to that. And so, yes, we do get a lot of calls. I've already got calls. And, in defense of these people, a lot of these people are elderly people, and they do depend on somebody else, maybe more than one person, to take their waste off. If you have rental property, then you give a card to that person, and if they leave in 6 months and they're gone, and they've taken that card with them, you can't get it back. So then you have another tenant to move in, and you need another card for them, because that's just what you have to have. Now, Commissioner English is kind of onto something, I think, where if each year, if you simply made whatever it is the board decides to do, whether it's a sticker and a card or 2 stickers or whatever the end result is, every year, if that sticker or that piece of paper was a different color, I don't know if that would stop it or not. First of all, you have to, the roll-off attendants will say, okay, all right, starting today is a new year, so now I can't take this yellow, the one for this year is going to be red. So then you've got irate citizens then. So I can see a lot of problems with that. I don't have a solution, because I'm not sure there is a solution.
Well, we work with folks, so in that situation, we wouldn't turn somebody away. The roll-off site attendant could call our office. We can verify that they are charged the assessment and let them know, okay, this time, we'll let you through, but next time, before you come back, you need to get the paper or the decal. But it is fraught with frustration and angst, and that's just something that we have to work through.
And, the citizens have been used to, if they cut down a couple of little trees in a yard, or they tear down a little something or another, we all have debris from now and then that needs to go. And it's a shame that we've had abuse of the system. And I still don't understand why that we can't implement a process so that if a contractor comes there with, as Commissioner Moody has described many times, with trailer after trailer that's obvious, and they're working for somebody else, then I don't understand why the roll-off attendant has to take that. He should have to maybe consult with Gary or somebody, and Gary, I'd have to wait till Gary got there or something, instead of just saying, okay, let him go ahead on this time. I mean, I don't know the answer, but I just am not sure that I can support one sticker per property. I think that's gonna cause a lot of angst for us, and I don't think I'm gonna be able to support that.
That's why I wanted to bring it to the board and just remind y'all that the initial guidance was one per assessment. However, we're already getting calls from people who are concerned about that.
Mm-hmm.
Even if folks get 2 decals, they can't necessarily affix it to their vehicle. They'll have to place that on some type of plaque, something, to actually show the roll-off side attendant.
And it may be that you don't initially just issue a sticker in a car, a decal for each parcel. Maybe issue the sticker and leave it up to them if they're a rental property, and have them request, hey, I need to get cards for my tenants.
Right.
And that way
Which
you're
they would
not,
have to come to the office to do that, because the roll-off side attendant is not going to hand out 5 decals or whatever. Now we did not order cards because the direction was specific that we only have 1 decal per assessment, but we can order cards if that's what y'all want. I just know that my understanding was that they were easily reproducible, and that it caused issues the last time, but I don't know that. I haven't seen evidence of that. That's just what I heard, which is why I think the board wanted to go with the decals. But we'll do whatever y'all want us to do.
Well, again, if you have your grandson or your son-in-law or somebody that comes by and takes that for you, or maybe both of them do, is one extra gonna be enough for that? And then if I pay somebody to come, I say I've got a big pile of limbs at my house or something, and I pay somebody to come, would you load these up and haul them to the roll-off for me, and you pay them, whatever it is, you pay that person to do that, then how are they gonna be able to, I guess you have to give them, if your sticker's on your vehicle, and you have a car, then obviously that's not gonna take a load of stuff, you need a truck. So I don't know. Newspaper man.
I think I may be breaking a record for the most times I've taken the podium today. Mark Viola, 3384 Slaughter Road, perhaps said it last week. This may be in violation of the spirit of what is being suggested in this, so please just ignore that I said it. This is just me as a citizen. I don't usually actually make an opinion, but I'm not a huge fan of having to put a sticker on my car that's about to dump. So honestly, what I plan on doing is looking on Amazon, trying to find one of those metallic things that people put on the side of their car, and cut it, just put the sticker on that, and just metallically attach it to my car. I have 2 cars, so if I need to take my other car, I can just.
And it's the same spirit of what I'm asking, is to create some kind of placard.
That does open the possibility of abuse, because somebody in the city to do it, unfortunately, but honestly, that's what I plan on doing. It'll be affixed to my car, but I can pull it off when I leave.
And see, like I stated, there's no way to really fix this, but you're gonna have abuse. You're no matter what.
And I don't want to punish, I don't want it to appear that we're trying to punish our property owners who pay the assessment. We certainly don't want to make it difficult for them than it has to be. They pay the assessment, they have the right to take their household trash or whatever to the roll-off site. So we don't wish to make it difficult for anyone. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Again, we didn't order cards. We can order cards, but we won't, it'll take several weeks for them to come in. as soon as we have the decals in our hands, we plan to start distributing them because people are very anxious to get them. And I don't think that's a bad idea before they lose their letter, so I understand that. It would be easier to start the process now. So on January 1st, we don't have thousands of people trying to gain entry to the roll-off site that don't have their decals. I'd like to go ahead and start this process. Do y'all want to allow people to have 2 decals per assessment, per letter that they turn in? Do you want us to order some cards? Do you want us to try it with the decal and the one decal and see what happens?
I don't think it would be a problem to try with one, and if someone has a rental, they want to come to the office to be able to address their need, then I believe that would be a good process.
Okay, so that's.
We're gonna start off by undermining the process, then what have we really accomplished?
I understand. So what that would be is that people would take their letter to the roll-off site or bring it to the office.
Yes.
They would get one decal unless they have multiple properties. Is that the direction this board wants to go?
Well, I mean, if they had multiple properties with multiple assessments, wouldn't they have multiple letters? So,
Well, maybe not. But either way, I mean, what I'm saying is if there are multiple properties, they would need to come to the office. I hate for any, a tenant to be in a position where someone
I
hands
think that's reasonable.
he or she, right? So, it's one decal per letter unless there are extenuating circumstances and they can come to the office and request multiple decals unless you want to authorize multiple decals at the roll-off sites.
So not only for, tenants, but for people that help you out, grandchildren, friends, whoever. So does that mean that if you get one sticker, then you've got to come back up and say, oh, I have a grandson, and I have a friend, and
No.
I have this one, and so I need 5 extra.
I think what Commissioner, unless I'm misunderstanding, I think the direction is, what I'm asking for is if people wish to not affix that to their vehicle, their decal, then they would have to affix it to, a piece of cardboard or something that they can share with whomever takes the debris to the roll-off site. That's what I'm asking, is if that is.
She said the sticker that you get if you don't, say you drive a car and you got someone, she said, if you really no use in sticking it to your car because it's not going to you're not going to the roll-off side anyway.
Right, just mount it to.
Fix it to something else, like a piece of cardboard, and hand it to your nephew or grandson or whoever and say, here, I need to take this trash off.
Okay, so let's be practical.
Yes, ma'am.
Why would I be given a sticker, and then I have to peel that sticker off and put it on a piece of cardboard, and I can hand that cardboard to anybody I want to, other than give me a card? Because I can hand a card, or I can hand a sticker that's affixed to something to somebody just as easy. So I don't really think at the end of the day, a sticker is going to mean diddly squat. And when you're trying to solve this problem.
Well,
Huh?
looks like to me that if you don't want to put it on your windshield, why give them a sticker at all? Give them 2 cards.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Now, let me ask you this.
I understand.
When they pay the $140, is this for multiple property owners, multiple pieces of property? Or do they pay $140 for each address?
$140 per property. But what I'm saying is, some properties they're under the ownership of a family. Or perhaps they rent out their property, or they have relatives who, come and see them or utilize their property. They want to be able to allow someone in their family or whomever is using the property to utilize the roll-off site. And it's the same with the renters. They want, they the renters want to be able to allow their renters to have something in their hand to take to the roll-off site to hand to the attendant so they can gain entry.
Okay, then, I don't particularly want a stick in my window either.
That was the direction of the board. So, we can order cards if that's what y'all want.
Yeah.
I just need to know the limit that
Looks like
we,
2 per family, should be enough.
so either 2 cards or 2 decals or 1 of each or whatever people want. It's, yes,
And then the abuse we're talking about, well, you know, you have a way of abusing all the stuff we want to abuse. Like the man leaving the boat in the water. And in order for him to have a cabin through the store, you gotta have plenty of money. And, you know, all this other kind of stuff we have. Some of it we can police and some of it we can't. Oh, we don't, I don't know what it is. But if somebody sit up all night to try to trick you, and you do it when you're not dead, you know, I mean, we got it all over the county, all over the country.
well, I think initially the reasoning for the decals was it just made it easier for the attendants and it, you know, you, as a car or a truck drives through, you can see the sticker, you can wave people by rather than having to greet the person inside the vehicle to show you a card. But none of it's, I mean, it's not, none of it's the end, you know, the end of the world. We'll work with whatever we have to. But I do believe that, some folks thought the decal system was faster and more efficient.
Okay, if you lose your card, you can just come up here and say, I lost my card, I need another one. And there's no charge for that.
No. And we try to work with people as much as we can. I mean, we don't wish to make it difficult to the people who are paying the
So
assessment.
that's easy, you can get plenty of cards and stickers or cards. I mean, if you really like Commissioner Gibbs said, if you really wanting to do something, you can.
But
I mean,
I think we need to demonstrate that we are trying to control what's coming into these roll-off sites.
Okay. Yeah.
We don't need to have all this heartburn over this when we don't really have a clear cut workable solution, but whatever, I mean, you know.
So 1 card or 2 cards?
2, I believe. 2 is max.
Okay, so we'll have to order some cards. I don't know how soon they'll be here. So we'll order cards and then, but people cannot have 1 decal and 2 cards. People need to request 2 decals, 2 cards, 1 of each, right?
Precisely, where you have access in 2 different capacities.
And they don't, you know, I heard tearing down chicken houses, we don't tear down chicken house every day. We don't cut limbs every day, I hope we don't. You know, the trees, and the big stuff every day.
We don't, but somebody does.
Okay. My hat's off to you, you got a job to do.
We'll do the best we can. I
Okay.
do believe this is demonstrating that we are attempting to control what's coming into our roll-off sites.
So what we got? We got a card and a sticker, right? Or 2 cards, which one?
It's whatever people choose, either 2 decals, 2 cards, 1 of each.
Okay, good deal.
And you want that done at the roll-off sites, not upon request. That's just automatic. We hand out 2 decals or 2 cards. Yes.
Is that stipulated in the letter? Is it just to be stipulated to be changed?
It would, I think the letter says that you, hand the roll-off site attendant your letter and you'll get a decal. Because
You're talking about giving them an option now there, is what you're saying.
well, that's what I'm hearing, so.
I don't know, we're talking about giving the sticker an option at all. Did we roll that out totally, or did I hear someone say they wanted the stickers to still stay?
I think those have been purchased.
The decals have been purchased.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yes. I have not purchased cards.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long, if we would have to design them and have them come in and, you know, try to make sure that they're not.
Easy to reproduce.
But I don't know how to get around that.
So the way it stands, when you get your letter, you can either go get a decal, or you can get 2 decals, or you can get 2 cards.
We don't have any cards. Right.
But we
But
will.
eventually we will.
So you can either get 2 decals or 2 cards, or you can get 1 decal and 1 card.
Well, that's what I'm asking, is that the direction of the board?
Sounds like, being you already got the decals, and that's, let the property owner decide what's easier for them.
Okay.
So what we gonna do then?
1 card, 1 decal.
Or 2 cards, or 2 decals, or 2 cards,
Okay,
once we get the cards.
just want to be clear.
All right. Okay, now, where are we now? Information library?
I just wanted to remind the board that, starting tomorrow through the 19th, some of our commissioners will be at the legislative conference. And tonight at 6 o'clock is the Chad Reed dedication of Station 7 in Steenhatchee. And we've already put out notices for both. That's all.
All right.
Thank you.
Newman? Mr. Bishop? Mr. Peace Officer back here? That's it.
I'll
Go ahead.
I just want to say I appreciate our employees, all of our employees, and how hard they work. And I'm glad that the board decided what you decided. That was good. I appreciate that. Motion to adjourn.
You got anything to say?
Yes, sir.
Line muted.
Safe travel.